Welcome back to 755 is Real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. And for some reason, I'm with my co-host. Not for some reason, I'm with my co-host. Eric O'Flaherty, my co-host, former
This is
Braves
all we
reliever.
could get. So.
No, but I was going to say, for some reason, like the last 4 or 5 times we started the show, Dusty knows we're starting the show and jumps in my lap and does this shit, man.
Just
and
just kid.
Annoys the hell out of me for about 3 minutes. Then falls down, usually rips the headphone cord out of the thing. And goes along doing her thing. All right. Anyway, well, a whole lot happened, but not a lot of baseball in 4 days in New York. Man, I haven't recalled a week. I can't recall a weekend quite like the one that we just spent. At one point, when we got there yesterday, Monday, at about, and there she goes, without ripping my phone cord out. When we got there yesterday morning, like 10 a.m. Monday, I figured I had been in New York for for 72 hours and seen 5 innings of baseball. The team had been in New York since late Thursday night, early morning. So they'd been in another 12 hours and done 5 innings of baseball. Made up for that yesterday, played 18 innings of baseball in a doubleheader, split with the Mets in the doubleheader, win the series 2 out of 3. And I guess this says a lot about where the Braves are because the fans are still pissed. Are just not pissed, but just not satisfied. You went 2 out of 3 from the Mets, and I know probably part of that was Acuna getting hit in the shoulder and in the first at bat of the game 2 and leaving the game. Anyway, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what you're trying to do. We talked about it a million times. Sweeping on the road's hard, but taking 2 out of 3 out of this team, I mean, you pick up a game, you took care of business. The thing that sucks is you kind of lose your off day with that whole how all that plays out. You don't get that total day of decompression, but either way, going in and taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets, I mean, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, they and it's crazy. With obviously the New York weather tends to be like this early in the season. There's so many cool days, so many rainy days up there. We had 2 doubleheaders there last year. We're going to have 2 doubleheaders there this year because they're going to have to make up the Saturday game as part of a doubleheader in August. So it probably won't be rained out, but we can guarantee it'll be hot and sticky. But anyway, it's a good time to face the schedule worked for the Braves well this year as far as facing the Padres, both series before they got Tatis back, face the Astros without Altuve, and face the Mets, at least this first 4-game series, without Scherzer, who was suspended and was going to come off the suspension for the series finale. But when those 2 games got rained out Saturday and Sunday and messed it up, so he could not come back because he got to serve the 10 games. Right. So he will come back Wednesday. And they faced him without Verlander, who's going to make his debut Thursday. So for the most part, they took advantage of the Padres. They should have won more games against them. Well, the Astros swept them, so never mind that. But taking 2 out of 3 from New York up there is probably, of all those series, is the one that's most important because coming down the stretch, we can almost guarantee it's going to be a dogfight between these 2 teams, and also the Phillies are probably going to be in there. And the Phillies can't look past the fact they get Bryce Harper back.
Yeah,
tonight. 160 days after having Tommy John surgery, which to me is amazing. And I know he's not coming back as a pitcher. He's not even coming back as a position guy. Initially, he's going to DH. But still, that is pretty incredible. For a guy that's been through TJ, can you imagine coming back and hitting major league pitching 160 days after having TJ?
No, the benefit for him is he throws right-handed. So he's swinging lefty. And that when you swing and tuck that rear elbow, that's where you get that pressure on the joint. When it kind of your shoulder kind of rotates externally and your elbow leads, that's where that pressure would be. Him being a switch hitter, it's his front arm.
Right.
So it's not as much stress on it. That would be the hard thing for me is I throw left and hit left. So hitting left would still put pressure on that joint that I wouldn't like.
Yeah, he's pulling a Chipper Jones late career move too. No rehab assignment. He's done a lot.
That was one of my favorite things I ever watched in my career.
And one of the favorite things I've covered, because I remember asking the manager, what, Bobby, or was that Freddie? I forget.
It was Freddie, I think.
Yeah, Freddie.
It was 12, right?
Yeah, asking Freddie. Yeah, Bobby was at Tim was last year. Asking Freddie, is he going to go out of rehab assignment, Freddie? When's that going to start? Oh no, he's not going to. He's not taking one. And he did that a couple of times late in his career, a couple of injuries. But that was after a longer one, I think. And yeah, he's not going to take a rehab assignment. He gets in there and.
Well, he tore his meniscus at the end of spring training. I think he was just walking. He was just getting old. I think he was just turning around or like a light jog or something, and it just went. And he did. I think, you have the logic or the mindset at that point too. He's like, if I mess it up,
right,
who cares? I'm almost done. He's not working on playing 10 more years. So he's not worried about doing it right. And he's Chipper Jones, man. He can hit anybody. And I think he homered first game back, right?
Yeah, he did. He made a great play too. No DH then. So he was coming back and playing third base.
Barehanded the ball at third base and hit a homer. Yep. It's like, yeah, you don't need a rehab assignment.
Yeah. Just real quick, let's talk about the yesterday, even though the biggest thing of the day was Sean Murphy's incredible 2-homer, 6 RBI game in game 1. The guy had 2 3-run homers. He's just been phenomenal. And I'll underscore what I said earlier. I think that move is going to be the biggest trade of the offseason by any team, and the biggest of the Braves in recent memory.
He's better than you expected.
Just better than I expected. And they have him when Darno goes down, because if they had not made that trade, William Contreras would be catching just basically every day. Him and Chadwick Trump would be handling the catching right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but the Brewers are actually happy with Contreras' catching up there. Said he's improved a lot, the catching. But to have some idea of how good a hitter that Sean Murphy has been, Sean Murphy leads catchers in basically everything. Remember when everybody wanted to get Real Muto?
Yep.
He's leading them in basically everything. He signed for 6 years. He's a beast. As Seitzer said, he's like Nick Markakis, a no-nonsense warrior, and great handling staffs. Every pitcher on the team lauds his handling of the staff and all the preparation he does and everything. But where he's far surpassed our expectations is as a hitter. I thought he was going to be a good hitter. He hit 25, 30 homers maybe in a more hitter-friendly park than Oakland. I mean, I knew he had big power, that he's a really good hitter. But he's by far the best hitting catcher in the majors right now to this point. I know it's 1 month, but a little over a month. But the guy's hitting 282, 413 OBP, 647 slugging, and 1,060 OPS.
So what I think is just it gets underestimated what how much pitcher's spark can hurt your confidence and make you press and create bad habits, trying to put a little bit more on it. I mean, baseball is all about being smooth and swinging easy, throwing easy, staying within yourself.
Yeah.
And you fly out to that warning track in Oakland a few times, all of a sudden you start swinging harder. Maybe you run into one, but you also run into like a double play ball, loops, popping out to just bullshit at bats because you're trying too hard.
Right.
And if you look at the AL West, you got Safeco or T-Mobile Park in Seattle. That's a pitcher's park, even though they moved the fences in. Ball goes nowhere in LA at night. You got Oakland. That new Texas park is huge. And then the Astros is hitter friendly. So you got one hitter friendly park in the whole division. You come out to the NL East and pretty much everything's pretty fair. I mean, Citi Field's kind of big, but Philly's tiny. Truist is fair.
That ball flies at Citi Field though most days.
Yeah, I mean, especially the left.
Yesterday.
maybe center. It's tough, but they moved the fences in.
Right.
And I think a couple of Murphy's homers went to where they moved the fence in. They might have gotten to that first couple rows, but just what that does for your confidence of knowing I don't got to swing hard to hit it out.
Right.
Now your balance is better, your timing's better, your effort level's more in check, and you become a better hitter. Like I watched what happened to Beltre when he went to the Mariners.
Yeah.
And then when he left, and I think he's one of the best examples ever.
So he going back to home runs, he's got 8 homers. No other catcher has more than 6. You know what the funny thing is of this coincidence? Second, it's tied for second on the list on home runs, or in second by himself now, is Shea Langoliers, who was traded to Oakland the previous year's trade for Matt Olson. He's got, and he's another guy you think of defense first, Gold Glover. And Murphy is a Gold Glover, AL Gold Glover. Langoliers might be one very soon over there. He's got 6 bombs, and Langoliers got 6 homers, and my cat just stepped on the damn thing. Langoliers has 6 homers, 16 RBIs, but he's only hitting 222 with a 286 OBP. That's the thing with him that the Braves weren't sold on. Knew he had big power, but weren't real sold that he'd ever be a high average, high OBP guy. He's got 26 strikeouts in 90 ABs, but again, they'll take what he's doing for sure with the defense he's getting, and he's getting a great chance to play every day and really develop out there. So that's good. But number 3, tied for 3rd on the list in home runs, another former Braves prospect, Christian Betancourt, who I had given up on. I mean, I didn't think this guy was.
Where'd he wind up?
Tampa Bay.
Really?
Yeah. He's got 5 homers this year, man. Again, not a guy who hits. He's hitting 250, 303 OBP, 870 OPS. He's having a hell of a year. I mean, good for him, because I sure thought he was done.
You never know when it's going to click, or what coach organization combination works out for somebody and they get hot. But he definitely, I mean, you knew he always had the talent. Real
Muto, he's having an okay year. He's fine for him by his standards. I mean, by most catching standards, a great year. But I mean, he's hitting 280, 302 OBP down for him, 782 OPS down for him, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. And he's catching basically every day, just like he always does. He's 26 games he's played overall. He's got 100 ABs. He's got 15 more ABs than Murphy, and less than half the home runs and RBIs. So anyway, just saying, I hope people fully appreciate what Sean Murphy's doing, because this guy is in his first season with a team too, in a new league, new team, catching all new pitchers, and has to focus so much attention on learning his own pitchers, which I think makes everything he's doing doubly impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's doing at the plate on top, because that's the secondary job. What he's doing, his primary job, and what the Braves tell him, is catching every day, especially while Dono's out, and knowing and handling this pitching staff. And he's done a terrific job with that. So
I always love throwing to guys like him, just big, bad, no nonsense dudes. It's like they put those fingers down, and they usually call a more aggressive game, more fastballs in. They challenge hitters more. Those guys, like Rossi, I always click with those guys.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job of that.
And that's how everybody describes him too, on top of being a big dude.
Yeah.
He's built like a tank, man. We voted yesterday for Player of the Month and Pitcher of the Month and Rookie of the Month and Reliever of the Month. And I have never seen it more close that I could recall for both Pitcher and Player of the Month. I mean, you literally could choose between like 5 guys in each of those categories in the NL. And even Reliever of the Month, Bednar and Hader's stats were almost identical, right down to the appearances, the saves, the strikeouts. I mean, it's crazy how close everything was. But Player of the Month and Pitcher of the Month, I don't mind. I'm always hesitant to vote for a Brave guy if it's real equal, because I don't want people calling me a homer. But I voted for Acuna, and I don't mind admitting, because I thought he's been tremendous. But I could have easily voted for Murphy, and there were several other guys, Pete Alonso. I mean, there's quite a few guys on this list that had tremendous months. In the NL.
Polar Bear got himself in shape this offseason. He looks a lot leaner.
He really does. Brandon Marsh has had a great month. Luis Arraez with Miami. I know he doesn't hit for power arrays, but my God, he's hitting 438 with a 500 OBP and 1,051. When you're OPS and over 1,000 and you've got 1 home run for a month,
you can put the barrel on it.
Yeah, that's Tony Gwynn man, doing that kind of hitting like that. Max Muncy, huge month for Max Muncy. But there's just a ton of guys on there. But I voted for Acuna, who his stats are a little better now than they were before yesterday, because he had that first game yesterday with great first game. He came a triple shy of hitting for the cycle in the first game. But right now, Acuna is hitting 363, 450 OBP, 584 slugging, 1,034 OPS. The guy's got 10 doubles, 5 homers, 15 ribbies, leads the majors in runs scored with 26, leads the NL in hits with 41. I mean, it's just doing everything. And stolen bases, leads the majors with 13. Nobody else has more than 11.
See, for me, it's just crazy to have the power he has and be leading the league. Just to be doing what he's doing and leading the league in stolen bases is
only been caught 2 times too out of 15 attempts. So let's get a little bit to that. Yesterday, what happened, what transpired. Man, first of all, that home run that he hit, my God, it was so long that the camera guy never panned up. He lost it where it was because he went to the spot where home runs always land out there. And he's showing the first deck and the bottom of the second deck. He never even went, it went higher. He was just like, I totally missed it. Where did it go? It landed in the third deck. Guy in the front row of the third deck up there by himself. There were only about 50 people up there in that section.
Yep.
And because it's just, I mean, it's way up there. And the place wasn't packed yesterday by any stretch. But for the doubleheader game 1. But it was a monumental blast, and it was estimated at like 450 or whatever.
I'm so sick of that shit.
Come on. I mean, it was one of those where, like the one in Boston a couple years ago, where you knew Ozuna hit it. Yeah. Where you knew it was close to 500. This one yesterday had to have been close to 500 feet. It was just a blast.
Just lie to me. If I don't care what your tech is or your Doppler or some shit you're using to decide that's exactly
Doppler. Maybe we should go with Doppler.
Whatever they got. Just tell me.
Weather radar would do it better.
Just lie to me and tell me it's 520 because that's what it felt like.
I think we could visually guess better sometimes than what the figures are giving us. Now, the ones that land pretty close to the fence and up in the 10th row, whatever, I think they're pretty accurate on most of those because I think they do a good job of representing the arc of the ball, where it's going to land. But I think it totally throws them off when it lands in a second or third deck.
Yeah,
they're trying to guess how much further it would go by judging whether it's this arc, or this arc, And I just don't think they do a very good job with that at all. It really throws them off. Like balls that land up on top of the chop shop.
Yeah.
In the chop house, at Truist Park. That's third deck as well. Totally throws them off. The figures comes back. You're like, huh? 430? What?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever hit one there. That's like 2 balls that have ever been hit there. And you're 430?
That's what I don't understand is when it's a ball you've never seen hit.
Right.
Right? Because this was left center. I've seen
left center, not even left field third deck. Chipper hit one third deck.
Maybe
Chipper and
BP,
Freddie hit on third deck up there.
Yeah. So
left
BP,
field.
you might see it like in that first thing or whatever, left field line, you might see it once in a while, but left center. And you can't tell me it's got to be 410 to the ground, straight down from that upper deck, at least, right?
Right.
So you're telling me that ball only went another, like you can underhand throw a ball 60 feet.
Right.
You're telling me that's.
Right. So they're trying to basically say that it was such a high arc, I guess.
It's coming straight down, they say.
But it wasn't. Because then the arc would have had to have been like 60 degrees or what. Anyway, I'm not an expert on geometry or
I'm not either. It's probably exactly right, but
no, it's not.
I'm freaking sick of it. I want to hear that ball was 525.
I think because we all want to be rewarded when we see something that we've never seen before or rarely seen, and we want the figures to represent it. So that's why I like when a guy hits one like in Colorado up on that concourse, or like the one that Gaddis hit up on the concourse in Philly.
Yes.
To the left field where the bullpens are in right field. He hit it over to left field in the concourse. And you hear like 478 or 485. You're like, yeah, that's what I want to hear, damn it.
Yeah. Don't tell me a number I've heard before. Don't tell me, somebody hits one in St. Louis over the bullpen and it was 459. Okay. This ball was just 100 feet high still in the third deck in left center field. Don't tell me some bullshit number I've heard before.
Or the ball exits the park at Dodger Stadium, goes over everything, Yeah, I want to hear something that representative of that. It's like I'd
rather hear 600 feet than
I covered Big Cat Galarraga's epic, mammoth, historic grand slam off Kevin Brown at Old Joe Robbie Stadium.
I remember that one.
Where they had the upper decks tarped, right?
Yep.
It was the biggest home run I've ever seen. And I saw Mark McGuire's longest one, too, was off the Marlins at Old Busch Stadium. It was the longest was during the home run chase year. And it was the longest one he hit that year. And both times we got a figure that made you feel like, yes, I saw something historic. because the figure on the Kevin Brown, the Galarraga home run, and I'm not even sure it's accurate. It might have been too long, but it was.
I don't want it accurate then.
But it fits what we saw, because when he hit it, I literally got out of my seat and went, "Oh shit!" Because it was like, we've never seen anything like that. I thought it was going to leave the stadium, and that's a football stadium, because it did land 2/3 of the way up the tarp. If you Google it, you'll see it.
I've seen
the
that.
ball had so much spin on it that when it landed, it went up, rolled another 5-6 rows, and then came back down, right? And then they announced initially like 580 feet or something. We're like, that's like one of those Mickey Mantle estimates from back in the day where they've got the ball, fell where it rolled till it stopped, and they said 650 feet. But and then they, like 2 innings later, they gave us a new estimate. This was back when they were doing it kind of by hand. They had, every ballpark had a diagram that showed every spot on the park, beyond the fences, even beyond the stands. And the person doing the measurements had to choose between 3 arcs: line drive, middle arc, and a high arcing thing. Assign the ball one of those, take it to that spot, and it gave you a figure. That's how they did it, which was probably more accurate than what they're doing now with all the technology. But anyway, they reconfigured it a couple of minutes later, and they made the official estimate 529 feet. And it still stands out like that's what that should be, over 500 feet. And then the Mark McGwire one at Busch, I think they called it like 540, 545 feet. I think that's what it went officially down as.
Which would make sense, because he's on steroids, and he's 6'5", and he's jacked.
Right. He hit it to you remember, you went to Old Busch, right? Old Busch Stadium? Okay.
I never went to the old one.
Okay. It was those multi-purpose round stadiums, right? So the second deck, it's a football stadium. So that second deck is way beyond the outfield fence, because it's made for football, and they have to bring in, and I mean, so the second deck has a facade, goes all the way around, and we're in the second deck of the press box behind home plate. Well, this was the facade straight out from us to center, just to the right of center. And he hit the facade. He hit a St. Louis Post-Dispatch sign on the facade, which was way beyond the batter's eye in center field. And the ball just glunk. It just made this loud sound. And everybody's like, what? Gee, are you kidding me? Because it was just ridiculous. And the estimate, I think, was 549 on that or something like that. Something crazy.
Well, he hit the back wall at the Kingdom too. And I think they said 538 on that. But I don't know. I want to hear a number like that when I see a ball hit that I've never seen before.
Bowman and I saw Vlad Sr. hit one off of Hampton at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and there were probably 6,000 people there. All you heard was those kazoos and all that shit they have, whatever they call those things that they blow. In Montreal, it was weird. And he hit one off of Hampton, and it was a line drive home run, like to left field, and it hit some kind of metal something up there, and it just made this sick sound that just echoed. And it was like, if you were the pitcher, you'd have been like, okay, you just hung your head and walked off the mound. But it was just destroyed.
Do you remember the one Adam Dunn hit off of Jurgens? It went past the concession stand on the concourse in right center at Turner Field.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Man,
but this home run's in that category, that these things were all
right. The ones that you remember forever,
range.
And you'll remember that Acuna one because it was third deck.
I'd remember it a lot longer if it was 515.
Exactly. Because people will ask you, how long was it? I was 448. And people will be like, so? It was better when they were romanticized. Adam Dunn, the big donkey, man, he hit some blasts.
He hit a ball off me I didn't need to look at. It's just as soon as it left his bat, it was so clean and pure and just so much power going into it. And he's so big.
He was huge.
When he's in the box, he looks like he's 40 feet away from you. And that ball was like displacing air when it flew out. I was like, just put my glove up. Give me another one.
Scott, we got to wait till it lands.
Yeah. I didn't look. I came in the dugout and I had a good outing overall. I just gave up a solo homer. I came in the dugout and I said to Derek Lowe, he kind of gave me a look like, that was a big one. And I said, did it go upper deck? He goes, come again? Upper deck. He goes, it almost went over the upper deck.
He was kind of a forerunner of today's player, by the way. Remember, he used to get ripped for striking out so much?
Yep.
But he walked, and he had a decent OBP. I mean, he would be praised today in today's game.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like facing him, because he was pretty patient.
And there was no DH. Today he could be DH. He used to stand out in right field.
Yeah, he'd be like Nelson Cruz and play till he's 45.
Or left field, whatever he played. Anyway, he was like a former Texas football quarterback recruit, Adam Dunn.
He's a good athlete, just bigger than everybody.
Yeah.
Just an oversized human.
What do we got? A couple people. I'm looking at the comments. I forgot to turn on the comments today, so now I'm looking at them. I know a lot of people are really upset about, and we get this every time with Acuna or anybody that doesn't get retaliated on. Let's just set this up first of all. Acuna yesterday was tremendous. In the first game, he goes 3 for 5, single, double, 448-foot homer. That was more like 500 feet. Majestic drive, 114 off 5 off the bat. And that followed a 2-run homer by Kevin Pillar, by the way, against his former team. Pillar pulled the old team card, as Snick calls it. So back-to-back jacks by the Braves, kind of put them in control that first game. Then they hung on to win 9-8 because the bullpen struggled a little bit, and Strider did not have a typical game for him. Strider's streak came to an end yesterday. We'll get to that real fast. But anyway, Acuna. So after that huge game he has in the first game, in which he led off with a hit again, a double. I mean, it's just ridiculous how good he is leading off games. But so the game 2, lead off at bat first inning. He gets behind 0-2, fouled off 2 fastballs from Tyler McGill. Then Tyler McGill hits him with an 0-2 fastball, 93-4 in the left shoulder, flush in the left shoulder. I mean, to be honest, I thought Acuna was just going to hold it. I know it had to hurt, but I wasn't really worried about it being because it wasn't the hands, it wasn't the face, it wasn't the elbow, it wasn't a joint. So I thought that's going to sting, but he's going to be okay, and it's not even his throwing his shoulder. But he went down to the ground. He was in pain, and the trainer came out and looked at him for a while. It was a couple of minutes, and he left the game. I thought he was going to stay in the game, but he left the game. And they did some x-rays. They were negative. After the game, they had him go and make sure, do some imaging before he flew to Miami, and MRI showed nothing. So that's good. So we know there's no fracture or anything like that in there, which that'd be really hard to fracture a bone there with 100 mile
at the top. You got your shoulder blade coming in.
Yeah, you got the scapula
thing, so
but you could see.
Close.
Right, but you could see that it wasn't there. That's right. It could hit a collarbone and stuff, but it was right there, and you could see the replay pretty clear. And he's not, he's got some muscle there. He's not a skinny dude in the upper body. But anyway, so he leaves the game, and I understand it totally because he's having, especially what he's gone through, the injury history, him being back, him being off to an incredible start, MVP caliber start. I told you I voted for him Player of the Month. I mean, he's having a year everybody's been waiting for, doing everything. Yep. So for him to get hit, it scares people because that's only a few inches from hitting him in the face and ending his season, potentially, or something horrible. So, but everybody wanted the Braves to retaliate, and they get pissed when they don't retaliate every time it's Acuna. Okay, let's look at the situation first of all, and you can explain this a lot better than I can, but I'll just say it's leading off the second game. The Braves bullpen is already stretched thin. I know they had 2 days off, but they've not been pitching well lately. You got Charlie going, second game. It's the first inning, okay? He hasn't even thrown a pitch yet. You're going to have him retaliate right away and get tossed from the game?
Well, that's what sucks now is that the umps don't do warnings anymore.
Right. They'll toss Charlie if he retaliates right away. He could be crafty and do it later in the game.
You should get a shot at him back.
Or you could wait and have one of your relievers do it later in the game. Then I don't know if it sends a message or what it sends, but you could do it. And you're not throwing him, remember, at the pitcher. You're throwing at somebody else on their team, obviously. But you could throw at their best hitter if you wanted to do that. But you also have to look at it. Was he throwing at Acuna 0-2 to start the game to put him on base in front of Matt Olson? I don't know. To me, it didn't make any sense. I thought he's trying to go inside on Acuna because they all try to get him off the plate because that's the only thing they can do. Otherwise, he kills you. And a pitch gets away. It's Tyler McGill. It's not the greatest pitcher in the world. Right. I didn't think he was throwing at him, but if you're the Braves, you might want to throw at their guy anyway, just to say, okay, even if you're not throwing at him, you better be more careful. If you're going to go inside, it better be with guys who can throw inside, like the Marlins used to do against him. Half the time, I don't even think they were throwing at him. A couple of times, those fucking idiots were throwing at him. But a couple of times, it was just not very good pitchers hit him. But even if McGill wasn't throwing at him, the Braves probably got to send a signal by throwing, at least going inside, making their guy know, hey, we're not just, you got to be careful with our guy, or we're not going to be careful with your guy.
For me, you 100% hit somebody back. And it can't be obvious. But so this is my thing about it. I don't think he was throwing at Acuna. I don't think he was trying to hit him, but I don't think he was trying not to hit him. Right. And that's the thing about today's game. And what you have to do as a team is, if you're going to pitch him inside, and this is the message you send if you're the Braves, you could pitch him inside, that's fine, but you better not hit him. And if you're going to, especially because everybody, when they go inside on him, they try to go up and in. They don't want to be belt in. They don't want to be down and in. It's up and in, up by his face.
And that's dangerous.
It's dangerous, up by his shoulder. And so,
because everybody throws 95 now,
everybody throws gas now. And for me, the message you send is, we don't care if you did it or not on purpose. If you hit him, we're hitting you back. And that's what keeps it honest. And that's what keeps, when their catcher's got a guy coming in the game that might not have that control, but he knows he needs to go up and in, he might think twice about it, because somebody on our team is going to get smoked if Acuna gets hit here. And for me, you don't do it obvious, and there's always you don't do it in an obvious way, but there's going to be a chance where you're, in a 1-1 count or something like that. And you can hide behind the same excuse. If your catcher sets up in first pitch of the game and you smoke the first hitter, you're probably getting ejected. Right. But the umpire can't reason that in the third inning, when Alonso comes up, with runner on third and 2 outs or something like that, and you smoke him, that it was 100% on purpose.
Right. They can't eject you there.
So it can't look obvious, but for me, you absolutely have to do it. You got to tell Acuna, we got your back. You got to send that message to him. And you have to protect him, you have to tell other teams that, fine, if you're coming in there, you better not hit him, or we're hitting you back. And it's going to be your best player too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost too coincidental when it keeps happening, when he's done something against the team previously in the series, or in this case, in the game before that, when he just destroyed them and they couldn't get him out, and then you started off with, and like I said, I don't know whether he's throwing at him or not, but he's trying to get him off the plate, because he doesn't think he can get him out if he doesn't get him off the plate, or, get him a little scared or whatever. But it's Tyler McGill, man. I mean, if you can't throw inside with command, then you don't do that, because you can't hit a guy up there. You're too close to the head. And Snit has to send that signal, I think, because he's his best player. Acuna's best player.
Yes, possible MVP.
And even with all the shit Acuna does that drives some people crazy and pisses off some old school people and all that, you still can't hit my guy, man. I don't care if he does this stuff. Snit doesn't approve of all that stuff either, but he lets him do it because the game's changed. But that, you can't let that color whether you hit somebody for their team or throw somebody at their team, whether you think it was justified from an old school perspective or not. And I'm not saying that's what Snit's thinking. I'm not trying to get in his head. I'm just saying it sends a bad signal to Acuna, to the fans, to that kind of thing. If you don't retaliate after your guy, your guy's showy, man. He's flamboyant. Okay, but there's a lot of flamboyant players.
It's
in the
game
today.
now. If he was the only guy doing that,
and he's an extreme in that. But there's a lot of great players that are flamboyant. The Braves saw some this weekend. Yeah. Francisco Lindor's flamboyant. Yeah. The Braves didn't throw at him.
Well, he does that. I think the only thing that could be maybe perceived as a disrespect is that too little sign.
Yeah. That's a new thing. Ronald picked up so many things from basketball.
I know.
That don't necessarily even work in baseball. Yeah. Now, they're great when he does them. They're funny. They're entertaining.
They're funny,
but they don't really work in baseball. Like when he does the silencer, he did the silencer at home. It's like that. No, that's not what the silencer is for the home crowd. LeBron did it to shut up the visiting crowd. But it was funny because Acuna did it. And even LeBron laughed at that. But then that thing, the low thing, it's like, no, you're too short to guard me. That's all that means.
Well, I mean, as a pitcher, it's basically him saying you don't have enough.
You don't have,
you're not good enough to get me out.
Exactly.
And whatever. If, like I said, if it was 10 years ago, I'd be like, ooh, you're going to get smoked for that.
Right.
But everybody's doing all kinds of shit now on both sides of both teams, whatever. I don't think that bothers me. But what I think happens is, especially after that first game, he goes 3 for 4. You have a pitcher's meeting before that second game.
Yeah.
and at least the catcher and pitcher meet. And if you watch Acuna, you have to make him uncomfortable inside. It's a cycle with him. Every season he's had that I've watched, he starts getting like this, and then somebody smokes him, and then the outside corner's open again. And it's like it keeps repeating itself. He'll get on a tear where he's hitting balls 550 or 515, what I think, and going 2 for 3, stealing bases and basically just running all over people. And then he gets smoked. And you watch the next week or two after this and see how he hits. Yeah, when he comes back, he's not going to be diving as much. And the thing I think about is if you look back in like the 70s and 80s when you got stood up every time you got a knock, how much harder it was to hit back then when this was it was just a free for all.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just a different game, man. And people get outraged today when guys throw up and in, or much less when they hit them.
But those
that used
guys
to
can do
happen
it with control
all the time. I mean, Roger Clemens,
music without hitting you.
Pedro, Roger Clemens, those guys always retaliated, man.
Yep.
Or most of the time. And going back to the Bob Gibsons, I mean,
you got knock off Bob Gibson, you were going to sit down on the dirt next to bat with a ball.
If he didn't like the way you looked at him, you got to hit off him. You didn't like the way you won, you handled it. He's going to get you off the plate. It's just the way it was. So, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I hope Acuna's back in the lineup today. It's day to day. I think there's a chance he's in there today because he just destroys the Marlins.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see him hit down there and get over this thing real quick and get back on. I don't want to see him this interrupted. We keep seeing Acuna rolls interrupted because I want to see him put up epic numbers over the course of a season, stay healthy because he's off to that kind of start. And he's had a couple of home runs lately to get him back on pace too for that, for 40-40, I mean, he's at 5 right now after the first month to go with those 13 stolen bases. I mean, he could have a historic season if he goes like, 30 homers and 80 stolen bases.
Well, and that's where protecting him comes in handy too, is it actually gives him a chance to hit better if teams are afraid to go up there on him.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, I understand your point. Yeah, that's the signal I think Snit's got to send, man. I mean, yeah, but anyway.
And it's always, for me, the thing I didn't like was you always waited for the right opportunity, and then that opportunity never came. You play the team again, and then you've forgotten about it. But there'd always be these incidents early in the season, and the games were too close, or this happened, and then it goes, and then by the time you see them again in August, it's all calmed down. You've forgotten about it, and you move on. For me, it's like you got to do it.
Yeah,
that game,
and you're right, because in August they're going to have another doubleheader. It's going to make it a 5-game series. I think a 4-game is going to become a 5-game or something like that. Anyway, it's going to be an extra game, so you're going to go into that thinking, okay, we can't do it in the first game and go right away with our bullpen, And if you do it like in the 8th inning of game 1, what signal does that send?
Yeah. Well, you get an extra roster guy, call somebody up and just let them get ejected
in August. Yeah. Oh, you know what you could do? It's going to be the 27th. You're going to have a 27th man for that doubleheader in August.
Call some flamethrower up from Double-A.
Yeah.
Let him get knocked out of the game and send him back in.
But you got to put him on the roster if he's not on the 40. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this thing. But that series is a 3-gamer that's going to become a 4-gamer in August. You play them, you play them, and you play them home and away in August. But anyway, you play them again in. You got the Mets again here in June. Yes, you're not going to have to wait that long. You got a month. You got June 6th through 8th in Atlanta.
Yeah, and
there you go.
The main point though is that he could have got hurt there. You got lucky he didn't, but what if he did? You don't want to wait until a guy gets hurt to start protecting him.
Right. Okay. What do we got? A couple questions here. Oh, somebody said that EY was on that 97 Rockies team. What were we talking about? What were we talking about with the Rockies? Oh, maybe he's talking to another fan about something. I don't even know. I don't know. Oh, he's talking about Big Cat.
Yeah.
Big Cat's homer. I think that was 96. Yeah, that was 96. That was the home run chase year, not 97. Marlins won it in 97, but 96 was the home run, colossal steroid home run chase year. Anyway, yesterday's doubleheader, Strider's streak ended. He had nine strikeouts or more in 9 consecutive starts, including like every start this year until he had the huge strikeout game in his last one. But that ended yesterday 1 strikeout shy. He gets off to a rough start in that game against the Mets in game 1. But I really loved the way he limited the damage because it got a lot worse on him.
Yeah, those outings sometimes you get more out of.
Right. He ends up with 8 strikeouts. He struck out like 4 of the last 6 guys he had to get it to there. But he was at 107 pitches after 5 innings. So if you're Snit, you're not even tempted, I don't think.
Not over some record, no.
That was a career high. He's thrown 106 pitches last year a couple times, but that was 6
I think he had to ask to go back out there for the 5th.
Yeah, he wanted to stay. He said he felt great. He could have kept throwing all night. Told Snit that before the 5th. But yeah, he finished strong. Retired the last 6 guys he faced. He just had a rough inning there where he was walking guys, gave up the bomb to Alonso. The first time through, he really avoided damage and showed me something with the way he avoided damage and struck out Alonso on 3 sliders.
Yep.
But the second time, he faced him twice with 2 on and none out. And the second time, Alonso got him. He tried
Did he get him on a slider?
Yeah. It was 3rd and 4th pitches were both sliders. He crushed the 4th with the second slider of that. He hung one to him.
Did you see that? I don't know, maybe the All-Star game or something, but Alonso was talking through at bats or he was mic'd up in a game. It made me appreciate him more as a hitter, but he was talking really in depth about what he thought the pitcher was going to try to do to him. And that's a sign of a great hitter is he probably was ready for that slider, that second at bat, maybe even hunting it.
Yeah, I mean, after you strike him out on 3,
he's going to go up there looking
swinging
for it.
at 3 the first time up.
But you'd be surprised how many hitters are like, well, now he's going to challenge me with a fastball.
Right. He doesn't dare keep throwing that slider to me.
Yeah.
Strider struck out 4 of the final 8 batters he faced, finished with 8 strikeouts, ends his streak at 9 straight starts with 9 or more. Franchise record, broke Smoltz's record. He was only 2 starts from matching Nolan Ryan's record of 11 straight games with 9. And when you're matching Nolan Ryan records, and I know this is a much more strikeout prone game now than when Nolan Ryan pitched. I know that. So you got to take that into account. Nevertheless, nobody else is doing it. DeGrom's not doing it.
It's a more strikeout prone game too, because there's a lot more guys throwing 100 miles an hour.
Right. And you got to stay healthy enough to do it too, and not leave in a game or have one bad outing. So
he'll have a pretty good shot at touching that record, in the next
again.
Yeah,
I would think so, man. Every time the guy goes out, he's got no hit stuff.
Every time.
Yesterday was the first time I've seen him where he even looked fallible in quite a while. I mean, yesterday was not him. And he said it, but he put it together and really finished strong. So I think he'll be fine next time out.
These outings are important, though, because you never know when that day is going to come where you don't have your stuff. And it happened in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And so every time this is better for him to have these outings. And he started mixing in changeups yesterday, but to learn how to battle. I mean, you don't learn a lot having an invisible fastball.
Yeah. The 4 runs allowed ended as another stretch of 12 straight starts in which he'd given up 3 runs or fewer.
Yep.
That dated to his last time at Citi Field in mid-August. Alonso 3-run homer did most of the damage. ERA went from 1.80 to 2.57. Not bad. Yeah. Strider leads the majors with 55 strikeouts in 35 innings. That's the most strikeouts in franchise history by any Braves pitcher through his first 6 starts or 6 games of a season. What'd
you uncover in that article? I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but about his fastball and the work he put into it.
Oh man, what did I talk about in that? I'm trying to think about what he talk. Oh, he's talking about his extension, the crazy extension that he gets, and I got into the release point stuff we've talked about. But his extension this year, because I told him, I said, man, because he knows all this stuff. You're not going to inform him of anything he doesn't know about. But his extension last year was like the longest in the majors, or tied for the longest, even though he's 5 to 6 inches shorter than the other power pitchers. He's extending further. But last year it was like 6'9", 6'6", 6'9", 0.9 feet, that kind of thing. That's how they express it at 0.9 rather than inches. But this year, he's been over 7 feet quite a bit. He said he averaged one game like over 7 feet. So it's longer insane. This year. He said, now if it gets much longer than that, then I'm doing something wrong. He goes, if I get like 7.5, then I'm jumping.
Yeah.
I'm jumping.
Yeah.
So he knows not to try to get it too far, just for the sake of getting it there. But he understands, perfectly how when he releases the ball, he's like a foot closer than some
Most
really
guys.
good pitchers, like Verlander, for instance.
I was 5'5".
Huh?
My extension was 5 feet 5 inches.
Wow. So he's 2 feet closer to the plate than you were.
Yeah, and I mean, the number one thing they've been talking about in baseball is moving the mound back, things like that.
Right.
As far as like how to make pitchers not so effective.
He's a foot closer than Verlander, even though he's 5 inches shorter than Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander's got a short stride.
Yeah, and he's 5'11", by the way. He's listed at 6 feet, and I asked him. He said, "No, I'm 5'11".
Yeah, I wouldn't admit that.
Those thighs. I said, dude, do those your massive quads, dude? Does that help you with the extension? I would think so, stabilizing. That. He said, yeah, that's part of it. But he talked about, the thing he got into in the thing was you'd appreciate it. The language he uses to describe the rotational, the inner and outer rotational forces. He understands exactly how that is what allows him to throw so hard and get that extension, because he read about how if you get a locked front foot, a firm front foot, as opposed to landing on a soft front foot, then it creates, and the rotational, your hip rotates, it creates this kind of a catapult effect.
Yep.
And he described that and how that's what he's tried to perfect, which he has, and that's why he's able to throw so hard and get that extension and still be in complete control, and not lose his mechanics or anything. It's pretty fascinating.
He works in a straight line down the mound too.
Yeah.
And, that's mobility, being able to get into those positions to take all your energy directly toward the plate. I always had to pull off because I just wasn't flexible enough.
Right. And that video of him working with Moylan, it shows, because Moylo can't even get 1/3.
Moylo's busted.
Right. But even at his best, Moylo said he could have done that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy what he can do with his legs as far as extending them like a ballerina,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a muscular pitcher doing this stuff.
Yeah, I wonder
don't
how
think
he gets so much muscle mass doing. I mean, he must lift too, but
yeah. I don't think many people that there's ever going to be many pitchers that are willing to put in the hours it takes to get that on top of the hours it takes throwing and doing all the other stuff you have to. I just don't think there's many people that are willing to do all that work.
Yeah, you got to be obsessed. And a lot of times it's a guy that doesn't have a family yet.
Yeah.
Where you're able to think about this 15 hours a day.
And he did.
It's the only thing on your mind.
TJ might have been the best thing that could have ever happened to this guy, because he changed so much in his downtime, in his year. He didn't waste a day in his TJ recovery. He absorbed everything you can about the technical aspects of pitching and dieting and all that, becoming a vegan for inflammation, to reduce inflammation, because he wasn't happy with the inflammation, how he felt when he was recovering from TJ.
Has he converted anybody? Are there any converted vegans on the team?
Not that I know of. I don't think
I remember
any danger of that.
One year, this guy, James, he was for the Astros, had really bad sleep apnea. And he came back with them and was throwing 98, and they were talking about it in the playoffs or something like that. I ordered a sleep apnea machine that night. But they wouldn't send me – they only send me the mask. They wouldn't send me the CPAP machine. But I was like, I'll try that if it makes you throw hard. I'm surprised nobody's jumped on the vegan bandwagon or tried to pick up on Strider's routine.
Somebody just informed me 98 was the home run chase year. I don't know why I thought it was 96 the year before.
I was thinking it was 98 or 99.
98. Yeah, 98. And the Kevin Brown home run, that was 96, the year before the Marlins won. The Big Cat home run off of him.
Yeah, I mean, some guys were probably dabbling then too.
Oh, yeah. There was about a decade there where it was quite prevalent. And I'm not saying Big Cat was. I'm just saying, yeah, there were a lot.
It's crazy, though. Like, I was thinking about this. I saw it was Judge, Alonso, and Cespedes were the guys that got brought up that had gone third deck at Citi Field in a game. And I was like, Cespedes is freaking jacked. He's huge.
Yeah.
Judge is big. Alonso's big. To be hitting, and so when those guys hit homers that compare to steroid era homers, it's kind of like, okay, that adds up, but it's still hard. It's so hard to appreciate, but it's so cool that Ronald can do it at his size. To be hitting these balls
doubt.
how many times does he hit the hardest ball in the game?
No doubt. It's
almost every game.
there are anomalies. There are unicorns that come along,
He's one
like
of them.
Hank Aaron, that was under 200 pounds for most of his playing career. He's about 190, and just year after year after year hit 35 to 40 home runs, 44 home runs. There's no other. I mean, you can't get that way just getting jacked or whatever.
No,
You're born that
can't
way.
manufacture that. No.
Right. And what Acuna does, as Seitz described it, as the most explosive hips on the planet, you're blessed with that, man. And then the wrist, I mean, the hand strength. He's got really strong hands for such a relatively average sized guy. He's got strong hands and wrists and quick, fast twitch, It's just blessed.
I mean, you're right. I mean, unicorn is the only way to put it. Because if you took 10 million people his size and told them to try to hit a ball where he did, he's probably the only guy doing it on earth right now.
Absolutely, man. You couldn't get at the warning track.
Right.
99 out of 100 guys can't get to the warning track.
He's what, 6 foot, 205?
Ronald? Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe 210 now.
Most people be lucky to hit it over the fence at that size.
Oh, yeah. Somebody did point out the Mets had a good approach against Strider, taking close pitches and fouling off balls, just like the Phillies in the playoffs. Only thing I would say is the Phillies, that was a Strider coming off an injury, and he was not sharp against the Phillies. And he lost. Remember how he dominated early in that game? He lost velo pretty quick when the game fell apart on him, because he had not thrown in a month. So,
right. Yeah, I think that one of the big home runs was on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Right. And Strider had said after that big strikeout game against the Marlins, and because, like I said, he is such a technician, and he said they helped a lot facing an aggressive team like that. They helped him swinging at so much stuff early. It kept his pitch count down, so he went 8 innings. He said it helps a lot facing again. And I said, yeah, the Mets aren't like that. He goes, exactly. The Mets are a lot tougher to face. They got guys that work counts. So and that's what happened.
For him, I don't even know how you pitch to contact.
Yeah,
I mean, like if you're a control guy with a 93-mile-an-hour cutter or sinker, it's like, I'm just going to fill up the zone with strikes down in it. But I don't know that he can throw a fastball that he can just get a ground ball on. I mean, he's 2-0 and he throws a fastball right down the middle. They're swinging through it. Somebody
said he's a new age Billy Ball Wagner. I think that's a good comp. And the size is similar. Wagner's a little bit taller than him. I think somewhere between Kimbrel and Wagner. There's a lot of those two guys in him. Yeah. Except as Skip Schumacher of the Marlins said, it's like facing a closer for 8 innings. That's what the Marlins. I mean, there's nobody else in a game like that. DeGrom doesn't go 8 innings, so he doesn't count.
Well, you just don't see too many starters with, and you can't emphasize it. It's an unhittable fastball. I mean, you see relievers come in like Edwin Diaz, where they can be 2-0 and throw it. They can aim middle of the plate, still get a swing and miss, and just overpower hitters. But the fact that he can do it for an entire game is
right. And we've talked about how he came along absolutely at the perfect time, too. Perfect time. When all these other power pitchers are like 6'3" to 6'5". They're throwing downhill more downward angle, and all the hitters, or a lot of them, have adapted this launch angle swing to combat that.
Yep.
And it totally works against them when they're facing Strider. Because he's 5'11".
Yeah.
He's 5'11". He's getting a foot further out down the mound. So he's releasing at a lower points too, even lower, because he's 5'11", and he's getting another foot of extension.
Yeah.
So it's got, in effect, it's got like the ball's rising, even though it's not. It's just not going down. So, but the hitters are not used to hitting in that plane at all.
And that's why you just repeatedly sweep, like they know they're getting a fastball. They still swing through it.
Right.
Most
hitters are not going to try to adjust their swing to face
one pitcher.
Exactly. You can't do it. Most of them can't do it anyway, and they'd screw themselves up, by trying to do it. But those guys with that have the swing in the plane, that keep the bat in the plane, the one that always comes to mind with me was McCann. He used to keep it in the plane for a long time. Freddie, can do that, but McCann, long time.
Just keep that barrel in the zone forever.
Barrel in the zone forever. Those would have been guys I think would have had a better chance against him. But if you think about just an amateur, you can think about what the ball does when it's like a laser beam when he throws it. It's like because it's not coming downhill, and these guys have with the launch angle swings. You're trying to swing up, which you would be doing on a pitcher with a downward angle on a second. You're trying to swing up and meet it right at the right time when his thing's coming in at 99 miles an hour flat, and you're trying to swing up and connect with it.
That point of contact is really small versus when you're swinging on the same plane as the pitch.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, nobody's going to change their swing to try to, swing dead flat for one game. That'll just mess you up. But,
right.
I think about it. For me, it reminds me of Mariano Rivera's cutter, where it's like,
yeah,
I think I told you this before, but my first season with the Mariners, we go and, Rivera just shuts us out, shuts a game down on us. And I'm talking to Raul after the game, Raul Ibanez, and I'm 21. I said, Raul, why don't you guys just sit cutter? He's like, we're all sitting cutter, buddy. Our eyes lie to us. He goes, the ball gets halfway to the plate, and our eyes tell us this is the trajectory of this pitch, and this is how much it's going to cut.
Right.
We swing where we think it's going to be and where our eyes tell us it's going to be, and the ball cuts an extra 5 inches.
Yeah.
Every time. You can't swing where your eyes tell you the ball's not going to be.
Right.
And I think, Strider's, I thought that was one of the dumbest things I ever said, I think, because it's like, you don't think these major leaguers are
right.
Everybody knows what he throws. But I think it's the same concept with Strider, where it's just you've trained your eyes on thousands and thousands of pitches and faced however many pitchers. For everybody else, the ball is going to have this certain amount of drop to it. Gravity's going to take its place, and there's going to be a downward angle. And if you see the ball here, your eyes tell us, it's going to be here. And you line your swing up, and you've trained it. You got this muscle memory, your hand-eyes built on how a ball normally travels. And then all of a sudden, this ball doesn't drop.
Right.
So you see a ball right there. You swing where you swing and make contact every other pitcher you face. And this one just jumps 2 inches, and you're under it. And I don't know what hitters can really do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves over time, because I think he's got a chance to go on an incredible run for the next several years.
Yeah.
Where the game is right now, where he is, what the type of pitcher he is. Just got to stay healthy. And so far.
Is he not locked up yet?
Oh, yeah. He signed that deal last year after the regular season.
That's right.
Yeah. Nice deal for the Braves. Nice deal for him, too. They got him early.
And with a pitcher, you worry more about, especially
Right.
he's already had one Tommy John. I'd take that security. But if he hadn't, that price would be going very high.
And just talking, you could talk to him one time and come away going, okay, there's never going to be a chance that this guy's ever going to slip as far as motivate. He wants to be the best, and he wants to keep pushing himself to get better, just for the pursuit. That's just how he is.
He loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Those are the guys you watch out for when you're doing those deals, are the guys that hate baseball and just wound up being really good at it.
That are just really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. And then they get some money. They get a family. They got other things they enjoy doing. Yeah. So anyway. All right. The cat is interrupting me again. And I think he's signaling that we've run out of time. And Marlins Braves got 3 against the Marlins before they come home. And at least they know the game's going to be played down in Miami. I tell you, I saw something. Who was it, Joel Sherman or John Heyman? John Heyman wrote something about how Cohen had looked in, the Mets owner had looked into what it would cost to build a retractable roof on there. Because they're, they have like this big series against the Braves, and it's like it was a total washout Saturday and Sunday, and the crowds were much smaller for the doubleheader on Monday than they would have been for those weekend games. So Cohen looked into it. You know what it would cost to retrofit that place with a dome?
$1 billion.
$800 million. So it would end up being $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to if you did it when the stadium was built at that time, it's going to go up some with inflation. But at the time, it would have been an additional like 150 million. So you're talking about like 5 times as much right now, even with inflation. But that makes sense, because if you're building it all at the same time, because to retrofit something like that requires so much engineering that, and in addition, they said that the other complication with that area is the ground is supposedly soft. It's right there, by the water. Yeah. So the ground is soft. So they would have to do all kinds of infrastructure things to hold up the dome on top of it. Not to mention, where would the Mets play for a year while they did it? Couldn't do it in one offseason.
No chance. It'd probably take 2 or 3 years. What I don't understand is why, you know what T-Mobile Park has in Seattle.
Right.
It's open park, but they have a roof on it.
Right.
And
It's
obviously
like a
they did it
carport.
because, it like a carport. It rains there so much they have
Right.
to have it. But
Right.
I don't know why you'd build a new stadium without that option if it's only another 125 mil.
Right. I know. I was talking to Bowen about this yesterday. It's like as much as there's nothing better than being at a ballpark on a beautiful day, a normal ballpark without a roof. They're building ballparks, the retractable roof ones now, so different than they did like when they built Toronto's, for instance.
Right.
They're building them so different now that when the roof's open, you can barely tell they're even a retractable dome because it kind of gets out of the way and all that. And they have open sides, like Miami's. When Miami's roof's open, that ballpark's beautiful.
Yep.
When Houston's roof's open, that ballpark's nice, man.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Seattle's. When their roof's off, you can barely tell there's even a roof.
Yep.
So I'm with you. I'm like, in today's game, in about 20 of the 30 cities, you could argue there's reason to have a retractable dome, whether it's extreme heat, the desert, the desert, Texas, extreme heat, whether there's extreme heat, extreme rain and heat, like Miami, Tampa, extreme cold at the start and end of the season,
Northeast.
Both Chicago teams, both New York teams, Minnesota, you know, I mean, before you look at it, and you could even argue Atlanta with the heat and the
everybody
rain.
but Southern California.
Everybody but the California teams really could stand to have a roof.
Yeah.
And you would have, if you made it a requirement going forward, obviously this would take like a whole generation to have for new stadiums to come in. But just think about how much easier it would be right now if you had no scheduled, if you had no rain out doubleheaders to make up, no sitting around for 3 hours.
It happens every year.
Broadcasters filling air, with boring replays and all that. Just how much easier things would be for everybody.
It happens every season. At the start of every year, there's all these messy rainouts, and it messes up your whole schedule. Once in a while, you get lucky and you don't have any of it, and it's amazing. But for the most part, you can book that you're going to have like 5 makeup games by the end of May that you have to go and get.
And you're going to have one of these years, if Colorado ever gets good again, Minnesota, if they get real good, they can't win a playoff series. But one of these years, one of those teams is going to advance like to the ALCS, NLCS, or the World Series, and you're going to have a snowstorm because they've had them that time of the year during the World Series in those cities. You're going to have a snowstorm that's going to like wipe out the World Series for a week.
I can't believe Minnesota didn't put one in.
It's unbelievable. And so far, they've skirted. They haven't had any real disasters. They had one year where they had to make up a lot of games. But other than that, they're going to have a snowstorm that's going to wipe out a whole week of the schedule. And just imagine if the World Series had to – you'd have to move. You can't play the World Series in a neutral site unless it's the pandemic, But no team's going to give up those gates. So anyway.
You'd have to push it back a week or –
But, you can't retrofit these stadiums with them because teams have to play somewhere while you're doing it. And the cost is just so exorbitant. So – but
city they just built.
Yeah. And it's nice too. I like Citi Field, man. It's
That's
so much better than the new Yankee Stadium. So much better than the new Yankee Stadium.
The new Yankee Stadium would be great if they weren't $700 tickets.
It's antiseptic, I think. It's just boring.
Yeah,
but they priced out all the
atmosphere sucks. I mean, that old Yankee Stadium, the atmosphere was crazy.
Right. They priced out the leather lung working class people that made the atmosphere great.
Yeah.
It's a total corporate atmosphere now.
Yeah. Shopping mall.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. That's it. We went longer than I said we would go, but good stuff. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for the comments. That was nice. Look over there and get some of that stuff. Eric agrees with you, and I agree especially after listening to Eric, that you got to retaliate in that situation, whether he was throwing at him or not. All right.
Yep.
That's it. 755 is real. And it always will be real. The real home run king. We're out.